Welcome to the At-Risk After-School Program Common Findings Training, Part 3 of 3 in this Chapter 16 At-Risk After-School Program Training Series, presented by the Oregon Department of Education, Child Nutrition Programs, or ODE-CNP. By the end of this training, you should understand the common findings from ODE-CNP At-Risk After-School reviews and how to correct them. Some of the findings address regulations specific to at-risk after-school programs. Others are pertinent to all child and adult care food programs. One of the most common findings for our at-risk after-school sponsors is specific to this program. Finding: not offering a separate after-school program with organized academic or enrichment programs. We find the regulation requiring these activities in 7 CFR 226.17 AB13. Eligible at-risk after-school care programs must include education or enrichment activities. In addition, USDA's Food and Nutrition Service, or FNS, provided us with an at-risk after-school meals handbook. Per page 8, at-risk after-school programs must be organized primarily to provide care for children after school or on weekends, holidays, or school vacations during the regular school year. This finding can be caused in several ways. First, meals are claimed daily, but qualifying activities are not offered daily. 2, meals are claimed on weekends, but qualifying activities are not offered on weekends. 3, ineligible activities only are offered. In order to correct this finding, each day in which meals are served, qualifying activities must be offered. All meals served on a day without qualifying activities must be disallowed. Qualifying activities must occur at the end of the school day and cannot be limited by issues other than space or safety. Some common qualifying activities are homework tutoring, arts and crafts, robotics club, chess club, pickup basketball that's open to all. Alternately, activities offered before the end of the school day or sports teams and leagues are not qualifying activities. Sports teams and leagues are not open to all, as students may be disqualified due to performance. The common question we are asked next is, does this mean that athletes are not allowed to take part in at-risk after-school suppers? The answer is athletes may be allowed to take part in at-risk after-school program if your organization is providing umbrella meal service, where all children are served regardless of whether or not they participate in the eligible activities. The sports teams are not allowed to be considered an eligible activities, and sponsors will need to make sure that there is an eligible activity before at-risk after-school meals are claimed. The next set of common findings are menu-related and affect all child and adult care food program sponsors, including at-risk after-school programs. Serving grain-based desserts. Our regulatory guidance is provided by 7 CFR 226.20A43. Grain-based desserts do not count towards meeting the grains requirement. Common grain-based desserts include granola bars, sweet biscuits or cookies, including whole grain-rich breakfast cookies like Ultimate Breakfast Rounds, and toaster pastries. Replace grain-based desserts with items that credit as grains, like crackers, pretzels, or muffins. USDA's Food and Nutrition Service, or FNS, has created many resources to help program sponsors understand grain-based desserts. First is the grain-based desserts in the CACFP worksheet. This lists items that count as grain-based desserts and items that don't. There is more information on grain-based desserts in the CACFP crediting manual, but the most common resource used for grains crediting is Exhibit A in the Food Buying Guide. Exhibit A highlights grain-based desserts with footnote numbers 3 and 4. It explains that these do not credit for the grain component in the CACFP. This tool is frequently used as a quick reference for grains crediting in all child nutrition programs. All of these resources are linked on ODE-CNP's CACFP meal pattern and menu planning page. The next finding is not documenting whole grain-rich items on menus. Let's start with regulations. 7 CFR 226.15E10 states that sponsors are required to keep copies of menus and any other food service records required by the state agency. CACFP Memo 17-2017 states sponsors are required to demonstrate they are serving meals that meet the meal pattern requirements. Then to clarify, ODE Memo January 23, 2018 states that menus must document actual food items served, including substitutions made to the menu. Working menus are used to document the actual food served in the CACFP. Some sponsors use production records as their working menu. The sponsors who receive vended meals use daily vendor receipts. All three of these options are acceptable. The requirement is the same. In order to prove that at least one grain item served each day is whole grain rich, these items must be labeled as such and documentation retained to support the claim. To correct this finding, our sponsor must update their procedures and train staff to document whole grain rich items served on their record of food served or their menu. Next is a finding for not documenting substitutions served. The same three regulations guide us here. Specifically, ODE CMP called out substitutions, requiring documentation of substitutions on the working menu. This includes substitutions made to the entire menu or substitutions made for specific children due to a medical accommodation or meal preference request. All actual foods served must be documented. Sponsors may correct this issue by updating their procedures and training staff about menu documentation requirements, including documentation of substitutions. The next finding is claiming meals that do not meet meal pattern and are not supported by a medical statement. Our regulatory guidance comes from 7 CFR 226G11, which states a written statement must support the need for medical substitutions signed by a licensed healthcare provider or registered dietitian. Reasonable medical meal accommodations are required in federally funded child nutrition programs. Many times, this can be done while still adhering to the CACFP meal pattern. If the meal pattern cannot be met due to the medical accommodation, then a complete medical statement must be on file and signed by the appropriate medical professional in order for the sponsor to receive reimbursement for that meal. In order to correct this issue, it is important for sponsors to work with families to collect medical statements. It is equally important for sponsors to have written procedures so that all families receive the same experience when requesting accommodations, and meals can be disallowed from claims appropriately. The next finding, not serving offer versus serve, or OVS, correctly. 7 CFR 226.200 tells us sponsors are required to offer all food components and participants are permitted to decline 2 of the 5 components required at lunch or supper. The most important thing to remember in the CACFP version of OVS is that if participating for lunch and supper, all 5 components must be offered and up to 2 can be declined. Sponsors may not only offer milk, but serve the rest of the meal as a required unit. Sponsors may not offer less than the number of required components, even if the child will take 3 or more. Sponsors may not claim meals in which a child is served less than 3 components, even if the sponsor offers all 5. We have a couple of resources to refer you to. ODE CMP has both an offer versus serve handout and an offer versus serve examples resource. We always recommend written procedures to resolve errors and training to ensure compliance. Sponsors should also include what staff should do if a participant refuses to take 3 components. These resources are linked on ODE CMP's meal pattern and menu planning page. This finding is specific to at-risk after-school programs. The finding is serving before the end of the school day. Our regulatory references are 7 CFR 226.17 AM. When school is in session, the meal or snack must be served after the child's school day. ODE also issued a memo on January 3rd, 2023. Meals must be served at times listed in CMP Web and must be served after the child's school day when all children have the ability to leave the facility and during the hours the after-school program is operating. To correct this error, change your service time to after the school day ends, and most importantly, train your staff that no meal can be claimed in this program prior to the end of the school day. Please note that if served on weekends or breaks, it can occur any time of the day if approved ahead of time by ODE CNP. The next finding is meal count consolidation errors. Guidance is provided by 7 CFR 226.15 E4. Sponsors must have daily meal counts by type served to participants. And 7 CFR 226.10 C. In submitting a claim for reimbursement, sponsors must certify the claim is correct and that records are available to support the claim. This finding can be resolved by creating a clear meal count procedure, along with ensuring your consolidation tool and processes calculate the results accurately. Often, a double check resolves errors before claims are made. Next up is a finding of meal counts are not taken at the point of service. Our reference is 7 CFR 226.15 E4. Sponsors must have time of service meal counts. The only valid method for taking a meal count is at the point when a complete reimbursable meal is served to the child, otherwise known as the point of service or time of service. Any other method of collecting a meal count is not permissible and meals should be disallowed. Some erroneous ways to take meal counts are using the attendance as a meal count, taking a meal count before or after the point of service, and counting remaining meals, or just not documenting that meal count. To correct the finding, update procedures as needed and immediately retrain staff. Accurate counting and claiming of meals is imperative to the operation of child nutrition programs. Once staff is retrained on proper meal counting, follow up with an unannounced visit quickly and provide additional feedback as necessary. To close out our findings on counting and claiming meals not verified by attendance. Our regulatory guidance comes from 7 CFR 226.15 E4. Sponsors must have daily records, including attendance, for all participants. There are several errors that could lead to this finding, such as using school time attendance instead of attendance taken after school, taking no attendance records, and incomplete attendance records, causing the meal count to exceed the number of children in attendance. It can be challenging to find the most effective method for collecting attendance after school. Analyze what is causing the errors and update your procedures to address. As always, retrain staff so they are aware and can implement the procedure. When ODE CMP comes for a review, we always review training documentation to confirm that all staff with CACFP duties have been appropriately trained. This comes from 7 CFR 226.6 D37, 7 CFR 226.19 B6, and 7 CFR 226.15 E14. When we call a finding for not completing required training, there are only a few areas that commonly drive this finding. For most of our sponsors, there is a start of the program year training that their staff participate in that covers the required topics. Staff members not in attendance or new hires hired after the training can get missed. Also, for staff with unique roles like site monitors, we frequently see topic-specific trainings missing. In addition to not completing training, we also have not documenting training as a finding. This comes from 7 CFR 22615E12, which specifically calls out documentation requirements, including dates, locations, and names of participants. On screen, the commonly adopted staff training agenda and sign-in sheet is shown. This is used by most of our sponsors to document staff trainings, but it's not the only option. As with all CACFP documentation, remember to list the year along with the month and day, and complete all fields to address the documentation requirements. To address either of these training findings, look at your procedure. Is it written? Does it address regulatory requirements? Do those who are required to follow understand what's being required of them? Does it address ad hoc training requirements along with the scheduled team-wide trainings? Our next finding is not completing all required site monitoring. This is a finding just for our multi-site sponsors. Guidance comes from 7 CFR 226.16V1, 7 CFR 226.16D43. Multi-site organizations are required to complete regular site monitoring visits. Pre-approval visits are required for all new sites. ODE clarified requirements further in a memo on October 30th, 2013, titled Monitoring for Sites that Operate Less than 12 Months a Year. In this, it lists the minimum permitted monitoring based on the months of operation. Some common errors that lead to this finding are fewer than the number of required monitoring by site have been completed, or more than 6 months have elapsed between visits. Our multi-site sponsors can also be cited for findings about missing components within the site monitoring reviews, like this finding, not completing the 5-day reconciliation. Our reference is 7 CFR 226.16D42. 5 days of records must be reviewed with each site visit to confirm meal counts do not exceed the attendance or enrollment numbers. Not surprisingly, to correct, ODE CNP will assign written procedures and/or training of monitoring staff. We will likely also require that these procedures include a double check of monitoring forms for completion. A common financial finding is not having a system to track CACFP expenses separately from other expenses. The detailed financial instruction for CACFP is found in FNS Instruction 796-2, Revision 4. Additionally, 7 CFR 226.6 and 2 CFR 200 provide us references. Our basic overarching requirement is that CACFP income and expenses must be charged to the nonprofit food service account and used for the benefit of program participants. The account must be kept in compliance with all applicable regulation. There are several requirements in regards to financial management in the CACFP. A couple of them are at least 50% of program income must be spent on food, and no more than 15% of charged expenses must be administrative costs. Both of these requirements can only be assured through keeping track of CACFP income and expenses. In order to correct this error, designate an account or an index within an account to track CACFP income and expenses. Use your required written financial procedures to detail what should be charged, when, and who is responsible. Please note that missing written financial procedures is also a common finding, often corresponding with a missing financial tracking system finding. Please make sure that both are in alignment with regulation. ODE CNP has developed several resources to assist sponsors in financial management. On ODE CNP's CACFP webpage, you will find many procedures with templates, including 2 completely different templates for financial management procedures. Both address all required components of the procedure, but in different ways. In addition, we have guidance in the form of financial management resources to guide our sponsors. We have arrived at our last common finding. It falls within the civil rights section of the review, and it is not collecting racial and ethnic data annually. The Civil Rights Compliance Enforcement Instruction 113-1 explains that sponsors must collect racial and ethnic data of their participants annually by site. This was updated through a few policy memos over the last few years. CACFP 09-2022 and CACFP 12-2024 are question and answer documents clarifying options to collect racial and ethnic data without using visual identification, as this has been removed as an option. As this process happens just once per year and there are several acceptable methods of collection, it's important that sponsors develop their written procedures consistent with the data source they use. They should also document how the information will be stored to ensure that information is protected from those without a need to know. CACFP sponsors have to follow regulations in every area. Documentation must be kept to support compliance. Some documentation is completed and updated every day. Others are only completed and updated annually. Sponsors all have different business models, staff, and procedures to achieve compliance. With so much to know and do, and so many ways to do them, written procedures are necessary. Develop written procedures that comply with the associated regulations. Follow the procedures. Include double checks for completeness and accuracy. Update procedures when they do not produce the necessary results. Maintain adequate oversight to ensure that written procedures are followed. No matter the issue, procedural errors require procedural solutions. This presentation went over a lot of information that could lead you to more questions. Your assigned child nutrition specialist is here to help. Reach out to them to talk through your questions. Before we end our session, here's a short message from the Oregon Department of Education. ODE supports equity and excellence for every learner and seeks to work with school districts, education service districts, and community partners like you. We believe all children should have access to high quality and well-rounded learning experience. This institution is an equal opportunity provider. Thank you for taking this training. We hope you found it helpful. ODE CMP greatly appreciates all CACFP Oregon sponsors and their staff who work diligently to serve nutritious meals to participants within their care. Have a great remainder of your day.